that are both good and bad.
How do you live with spirituality? What does that mean to your life?
I think it's being human as best that you can be. I think it's trying to be as honest you can be by the kind of yes that you make with your life. I think that people often say, like, do you pray daily? And my thought is, if you live, you're praying.
So it was not the laws of Moses that made you human?
Not at all. Not at all, no, no.
This evening you're going to draw during the music of Shostakovich. Why is that? Why did you choose Shostakovich?
Shostakovich is for me a kind of mentor. I like his passion as well as the strength of his convictions. I like the struggle that he gave to his life and the communion he felt finally by being free from the proletariat rules that were confined upon him. I think he began his life knowing that this idea of communism was important and that he was going to be a great musician, experiencing and expressing the needs of the people. And then later on he realized that this was a kind of false hope. And then his rebellion became even more and more great because he became more and more honest. And so I think of him as a kind of mentor for myself as well. I often paint with his music.
How did he influence your personal revolution?
I like the fact very much that he suffered for his truth, that he was often condemned by the establishment, but at the same time he was liberated by the conviction that what he was going to do and what he did do was real.
Do you think that you have to be under pressure from someone to liberate yourself according to your mind and your spirits and everything?
Yes, I think that we live with tension, and tension is good. Without tension, you become a kind of lazy bore, or you become a person that is involved mostly with middle-class ideas or values, and that's something I absolutely don't want to be a part of. So that's my need, is to feel the tension as well as to be experiencing the power of it, the push-pull.
Sorry, we have to repeat it.
Ah, yeah, that's okay. I get a better answer now. Okay.
What was the question, by the way? Do you think that you have to be oppressed somehow to get liberated in your mind?
Yes, I do. I think that tension and the pressure of people's ideas and the kind of experience of the exchange of those ideas is very important in order to create something. Creation itself, I believe, came from a kind of chaos, and then it was ordered. So for me, it's similar. I mean, I take ideas and tensions and arguments as well as my own feelings and passions, and I try to create a kind of symbolic image or statement about them for myself and how I relate to people with them.
But there's a big difference between Shostakovich, who was under Stalin's power, and people in today's world, in the Western world, in the USA or in Europe. They don't have to be liberated somehow. So.
Well, I think that conflict is in every kind of life, and it is always the contest of power. There may not be a Joseph Stalin, but there's always somebody who has his ideas or has his possible control methods in maybe minor ways, but they are still those kinds of personalities that we have to live with, whether it's the organized church or the organized government, or whether it's people whom we work with that we have to listen to who may not be the right kind of persons to listen to. Because in a person who has a kind of spirit, you say a Freigeist, you know, there's a kind of rebellion that is inside us, and we push against the kind of borders, whether they are real or artificial. We have to be free, and an artist is a kind of person who is by nature a free person.
But what can you tell, for example, a 50-year-old housewife who comes to you as a priest and asks you, I want to feel free, how can I get there?
I'd say, first of all, by paying attention to the deeper feelings that you have that were not allowed to express itself. And maybe there is a certain kind of truth that you always were living with, but you were afraid to be it. Each one of us has in ourselves a kind of child, a kind of gentle spirit, a kind of innocence that is natural and pure. And many times we have to return to that source to become who we really are.
So you think that we should listen to our spirits, or is it rather God? Or what kind of role plays God in your life?
Well, for me, God is ultimately love. And I don't mean that in a kind of romantic, gushy way. Love is something that is sacrificial as well as powerful to change lives, and also to give us a spirit of understanding and reconciliation. So for me, to listen to God is to listen to a kind of holiness that is spiritual, but at the same time to be open to what that kind of conviction means as a person, and how I have to therefore be responsible to myself and to others.
Can you describe a little bit more, maybe distinct, what picture of God you have? Is there a picture?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's a picture of God, because God cannot be contained. God is a kind of essence. God is real. God is. Das Sein, I think is how you say it in your language. But to try to control God is to try to put God into an image or form. I rather think that God is the next idea that we haven't yet thought about.
So you never draw him?
No, I think maybe I draw a profile of God when I try to be honest about the people I'm thinking about or praying about or drawing. But no one can actually contain God. I think that's why Jesus said that his life was bread.
What do you think about the fine arts and how they try to deal with religion and with God?
I think in every generation of art and ideas and religion, people have had to be honest to the conditions of their culture, the conditions of their economy, the conditions of their schooling and education. And in each generation, you find a particular group of people who did what they were told to do, and those who could not, and those who rebelled against them. And these are the people who remain. These artists are the ones who remain. What remains is Van Gogh, and not the people who were cherished by the bourgeoisie class or by those who had the academic credentials who said, well, you are first and you are good. But rather it was always the ones who were rebellious, the ones who had some need to express what was the deeper sense of their being a human being. And that's why in all generations the best art always comes from the ones who suffer.